Tell me who you are. What?
He's Macedo! He's a deaf mute. He works for us. Father Tommaso hired him. Macedo doesn't talk, so I would really like you to give him a chance.
Do you need help?
The film opens at the Convent of Garinana, where Sister Fernanda is explaining to Sister Ginevra that she missed Laudes because the donkey escaped. Ginevra is skeptical. The two of them walk through the garden and pass the groundskeeper Lurko, who makes the error of saying good morning. They respond by calling him a fucking creep, a piece of shit, a disgusting fucking rat, and several other things before continuing with their morning. This is not an unusual interaction for Lurko. This is every day. Inside, the abbess Mother Maria is quietly managing a convent that is financially dependent on embroidery sales and one family's very large donations. That family's daughter is Sister Alessandra, who sits in her room staring out the window and has been doing so for 10-minute stretches, according to Ginevra's intelligence reports. Her father visits, explains that the dowry money for a match with the merchant Ricardo has not come together, that money is leaving in many directions and not enough is coming in, that maybe marriage is not her calling, that maybe embroidery is her calling. He says this while eating an enormous spread of food, and then he leaves. Alessandra stares at the window some more. Father Tommaso, the priest who runs the convent's secular affairs, is preparing to take the sisters' embroidered cloth to market in town. Lurko shows up to say goodbye. He has reached his limit. He is done with the nuns, he tells Tommaso. They spit on him. They called him a Jew. He is leaving. Tommaso begs him to wait 2 days. Lurko walks away and does not look back. Tommaso leaves for town alone, slightly drunk before he even starts. In Lunigiana, a nobleman named Lord Bruno is having lunch with his wife, Lady Francesca, while explaining his obsession with a Florentine military conspiracy in enormous detail. Francesca's eyes keep drifting to one of the household servants, a young man named Macedo. That night, Macedo is invited to Francesca's chambers under conditions that suggest this has happened before and will likely happen again, if not for the timing. Lord Bruno walks in. Macedo is out the window before his brain processes the situation. Bruno orders all male servants to have their heads shaved in order to identify the culprit, which backfires immediately because Macedo with a shaved head is visibly more attractive. Francesca can barely look at her food. Bruno sees them together in the garden shortly after and orders the guards to seize Macedo. Macedo runs into the forest. In the forest, Macedo encounters Father Tommaso having the worst afternoon of his professional life. Tommaso is drunk and has driven his cart into a river, losing most of the sisters' embroidery. Macedo helps fish the cloth out of the water, rights the cart, and is thoroughly thanked. Tommaso offers him a place to sleep at the convent. Over dinner and more wine, Macedo makes his confession. He has been involved with his employer's wife in several ways that Tommaso eventually classifies as adultery and sodomy under a variety of technical and non-technical definitions. He is genuinely in danger. Tommaso listens and forms a plan. Macedo will work at the convent in place of Lurko. The condition is that he must pretend to be completely deaf and mute. The sisters, Tommaso explains, have a certain temperature. The evidence is self-explanatory. The next morning, Tommaso introduces Macedo to Mother Maria as a deaf mute he met on the road, skilled in carpentry and groundskeeping. He also confesses that bandits took all the embroidery, the entire season's work. Maria absorbs both pieces of news. When Macedo begins his duties in the garden, Fernanda approaches him with an axe and demands to know who he is. She is convinced he is a spy or an intruder, or both. The abbess intervenes and explains that Tommaso hired him, that he cannot hear them, and that perhaps they might give the new arrangement a chance. Fernanda lowers the axe. Sister Alessandra watches Macedo from the doorway with a different expression entirely. Alessandra's embroidery frame breaks. She takes it to the storage shed to ask Macedo to repair it, and while she waits, she starts talking. She talks about being trapped, about wanting a life that feels like one, about watching an elderly sister do embroidery nearby and seeing her own future in it. Macedo listens to everything in technically required silence. Ginevra, working in the garden nearby, watches Alessandra go into the shed and says nothing. Later that evening, Tommaso checks in with Macedo and asks how things are going. Macedo gestures with great enthusiasm. Wonderful. The sisters are a pleasure. Tommaso reminds him to keep a professional distance. That night, an old friend of Fernanda's named Marta arrives at the convent. Fernanda brings 2 bottles of wine stolen from Tommaso's personal supply and installs Marta in Alessandra's room. Ginevra, woken by the noise, knocks on the door and is immediately pulled inside and handed a glass. Marta asks whether any of them have actually been with a man, and then provides detailed elaboration on the subject, whether they answer or not. Fernanda wakes Ginevra up in the morning and carries her back to her own room to continue the conversation there. Marta remains in the convent, apparently indefinitely. The next afternoon, Alessandra brings Maceto an embroidered handkerchief she made for him. It is warm, and then less warm, and then Alessandra removes her veil, and her hair falls loose, and the chapel bell rings at the exact moment it needs to. At the laundry pool afterward, Ginevra mentions the previous night. Fernanda responds with the composure of someone who has decided not to have this conversation. Alessandra arrives with an unusually dirty veil that she explains she got dirty helping Maceto dig irrigation channels. Ginevra raises an eyebrow. Fernanda goes to find Marta and asks her for a specific herbal preparation, drops made from a plant, brewed carefully, with one clear warning not to drink them. In an elevated state, Fernanda and Marta go to the storage shed to find Maceto. Marta holds a knife to his throat and instructs him to maintain eye contact with Fernanda while the situation develops. Ginevra was watching from outside and followed them. She did not see what happened inside. That evening, Tommaso sits with Maceto again. Maceto gestures that everything is going wonderfully. Shortly after, the abbess knocks on Tommaso's door. She steps inside. The film does not elaborate. The most complicated relationships are always the ones everyone has agreed not to discuss. The next morning, Maceto climbs through Alessandra's window to pick up where they left off. An elderly sister walks in. Maceto panics and speaks actual words out loud. The deaf-mute arrangement is over. Alessandra stares at him. The elderly sister, nearly blind, registers nothing. Maceto goes out the window again. Meanwhile, the convent receives Bishop Bartholomew, arriving to review the financial records. The numbers on the embroidery sales do not add up. Ginevra walks into the abbess's office and reports that something is wrong with Fernanda's behavior ever since Marta started visiting. Maceto's cover has just collapsed. The bishop is auditing the books. Ginevra is talking to the abbess. Everything is moving toward the same point at the same time. In the shed, Alessandra confronts Maceto and demands a real explanation. Elsewhere, Ginevra has found Marta's herbal preparation. She brews it exactly as she observed Marta doing, then drinks it, which was the one thing Marta specifically said not to do. Ginevra stops thinking about consequences. She walks straight to the shed and kisses Maceto without greeting or warning, then pulls back and announces with absolute chemical clarity that she has just realized she prefers women. Alessandra, behind a pile of hay, watches this with her mouth open. Then Fernanda arrives, dressed in black, carrying a knife. She ties Maceto's hands, covers his eyes, and walks him into the forest. Ginevra and Alessandra, both now operating on belladonna and adrenaline, follow silently. In the forest, they find a group of women dancing around a bonfire, wearing nothing. Maceto is on a stone altar, bound at the wrists and ankles. Fernanda and Marta stand beside him. It emerges that Fernanda and Marta have been members of a pagan fertility cult for some time and that tonight, Maceto is the offering. Ginevra, fully committed to wherever the belladonna is taking her, steps out from the trees, removes every piece of her clothing, and joins the dancing without hesitation. This breaks Marta's concentration. In the chaos, Alessandra pulls Fernanda back. Ginevra wins a fight with Marta and takes her robe. Marta is left in the forest in nothing at all. Ginevra stumbles back to the convent at midnight and starts screaming at a volume that wakes everyone in the building, including the bishop. She stands before Bishop Bartholomew and tells him everything. Alessandra and Maceto, Fernanda in the ritual in the woods, all of it. The bishop goes directly to the abbess's quarters. He walks in. Tommaso is already there. The bishop delivers his rulings in the morning. Tommaso is stripped of his clerical title and expelled. The 4 sisters and the abbess are permitted to remain, but are sentenced to a full year of fasting and demonstrated repentance. Maceto is escorted back to Lord Bruno's castle and placed in the dungeon to await sentencing. That same night, Alessandra, Ginevra, and Fernanda slip out of the convent and break into Lord Bruno's castle. They talk their way past 2 guards and walk Maceto out of the dungeon. On the other side of the valley, the abbess leads her donkey out through a side gate and walks to a bridge. Tommaso is already there. He has been staying at a Buddhist monastery, he tells her. Very boring, apparently. She tells him the convent has not felt right since he left. They stand together on the bridge. The donkey is there. The film ends. And that is how the story ends. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and drop a like and a comment to keep me going. Thanks.